I think the one word that comes to mind is perseverance. You persevered through some of the challenges that anybody would have, even with our support. A grad's still going to have some challenges to figure some things out, and looks like you broke that wall for sure.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I owe a lot of credit to your folks, John, Gary, Mecca. They've been tremendous as far as support, and I've asked my share of dumb questions, and gotten some answers that I had to just go back and think about it and rethink of what I was thinking, the way I was doing it, and sometimes getting slapped a little bit to go back and do it the right way.
Right.
And it was really helped. At the end of the day, there's nothing easy about this business. And if you do it right and you do it right the first time, it's going to take you a lot less time. Being a one-man band,
Mhm.
it was very important for me to figure out not have to keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
I hear you. I hear you.
And that's where the help has come from your team.
There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. People always say, Kris, how can I be a successful broker? It's two words, hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Entrepreneurs in Finance, where we explore the daily lives of graduates, lenders, staff, anything you need to know about life as a CCTG graduate. And on this episode, I am very proud to interview Robert Mecca of RAM Capital Solutions. Hey, Robert.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Things are good. You and I were talking prior to this starting, and I do have to say, I always love to get the chance to interview graduates that were in our COVID years, our virtual class, right? So I see here you attended in November of 2020. Is that correct?
Yeah. It seems like yesterday. It seems like a million miles away as well.
It does. It does. It was a weird time for us because we didn't, all we had was virtual to offer. But I do remember the name, and I'm excited to kind of get to know you a little more and see how your business is doing. So first of all, tell me, where are you from? Where are you located right now?
I live in Buffalo, New York, born and raised here.
Ah, okay.
So we're right down the road a little bit from you guys, and
Okay.
it's been my world. So I'm very fortunate, and I've got a number of connections. Owned my own business for 16 years here at one time, and feel fortunate that love the way we grew up. Love my Buffalo Bills, big Bills fan.
I was just gonna say that's the first strike. So we haven't even got 2 minutes into the interview. That's the first strike because I'm a Dolphins fan. So
Well, that's okay. That's
we'll
all
get to that. We'll get to that later. All right. Well, tell me then, how did you find us? Like what led you to us, and what were you doing prior to having your own finance business?
So as I shared with you, I had a office equipment technology company for 16 years, and I closed that in the mid 2000s, 2005 or so.
Okay.
And I ended up in the banking world doing some high-end merchant services for one of the larger banks here in Western New York. And I started watching all the bankers, the business bankers, turning down about 80% of the loans they were working on, and the frustration levels they had. So being frustrated myself with the economy changing and COVID taking over and things were changing, I decided to see, what could I do to get back into my own business? I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit, never liked working for somebody else. So I came across the ad that you had in probably in like LinkedIn or one of the
Online. Yeah.
online services, and I looked at it. I said, wow, this is a perfect opportunity for me to look at it. I love the idea of finance. I certainly had a background in leasing. I had a background with financing, with merchant services, merchant cash advance. And the more I got to talk to you or your people, I felt this was a good fit for me, and decided to take the plunge, not realizing the perils and perilous times would be coming over the next year, but did that and really started kicking off the business in January of 21. By the end of November, started in December.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, it's just funny because you realize there are banks. There was frustrations you saw with bankers because they declined more than they approve. So you already knew that, but you weren't entirely looking for this. You just kind of stumbled across us, and then it clicked and it made sense, right? Initially?
Absolutely was the way it was. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit about that. You came through in 2020 virtual. How was the virtual class? How was your
Virtual
experience?
class was very, very good. Obviously, there's nothing like being in person. You love to see and have the camaraderie of other people and listening to the good questions that they asked. But the training itself was on point. I think that what I learned, I think you guys mentioned it's like drinking from a garden hose, right? So, there's so much information being thrown at you in a week's time that there's no way to ever comprehend it all. So I think the advice that I got from you and the other folks there on your team was, just pick out a couple things and stick with those and really try to hone in your skills on those. And I did that. And
Tell me about
I walked.
Tell me about that. What were some of the things that you gravitated towards that you're doing now? Like
Well,
that
the investment real estate part was probably been the biggest thing that I've done. Also, the merchant cash advance and leasing opportunities. Those have been the three main areas of focus that I've had for my business.
Okay.
The merchant cash advance was a natural. I had already done that type of business and had some success with that. A little bit of success with equipment leasing on my own. I'm just working with a large technology company who wants me to handle providing them the leasing for their equipment. That's just getting started.
Okay.
But mostly it's been the 1 to 4 family residential investment properties that I've been working with about 4 or 5 investors this last year that I've gained as referrals. And that's really kept me busy. It's been a great experience, and it's been lucrative for me. It's been quick, and it's helped me to keep my finances in good shape and grow the business.
And grow the business. That's awesome. And so now let's talk about that. Tell me about your first deal. How'd you come about it, and closed it? There's always a story with the first deal. Tell me.
There's definitely a story, especially when you're new and you're trying to, nothing's easy, right? So you come across this a gentleman that's an investor, and the benefit of having programs that are light document programs, so they don't have to provide a lot of information. And this particular investor was from the Middle East, and he felt he had his own way of doing things and didn't believe the rules applied to him. So it was very interesting and challenging to get him to provide me the little bit of information I needed. And he was a very serious investor. We've done about 20 deals so far this last year and a half with him.
Wow.
And now we've got the system down pretty good. But in the beginning, it was a struggle because, why do you need that? I'm not giving you that. That's in the wrong name. This is in a different name. All these type of trials and tribulations that we went through to get him set up with his first deal, which was about a $250,000 purchase of an investment property. And, we struggled to get that done. It took us probably an extra 30 days, the first deal to close from where we were supposed to be. And once we did that, and I was working consistently with a couple of lenders and got used to working with him, and things started to go very smoothly for us.
So the best analogy is when you guys first started to dance, you were stepping on each other's toes. You were yelling at him. He was yelling at you. But eventually you guys are now synchronized and you're like ballroom dancers at this point, right?
Yeah, it really worked out well. Again, you gain trust, you gain the respect and rapport. He's been an excellent referral source for me from other people within his community.
Yep.
He's the gentleman's from Bangladesh. He's actually right now in Bangladesh, as successful as he's become. He's building a mosque in his hometown.
Oh, wow.
He's giving back to his community. Great guy, young guy. And he's done extremely well here in Western New York in the investment world here of real estate.
Now, people always ask, what are the joys of being, owning your own finance company, being a graduate, right? Like what are the joys other than making money? And I got to say that has to make you feel good knowing that like you help somebody at the end of the day, you help somebody, right? So then they can pursue their aspirations and dreams, like maybe building a mosque in Bangladesh. Like, does that make you feel good? Is that why you do this?
It's definitely satisfying. There's no doubt about it. The gaining his trust, whenever you can create a relationship where there was none before,
right?
And get to the point where these folks are comfortable coming to your home. You're breaking bread with them. You're meeting their families, and you've gotten that type of relationship with them. Mm-hmm. It's very rewarding. And again, seeing him increase his portfolio threefold with the help of the financing programs I've been able to put together for him. He was trying to do everything cash at one point in time.
Wow. Yeah.
And so now we've put together a number of these loans to refinance some of his cash properties, and just have been consistently doing probably 2 or 3 deals a month. Nothing big, all singles, anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000, 1 to 4 families. But it's just been consistent. And the nice thing about it, it's been a consistent revenue stream for me.
Well, what did I tell? If you remember this, and through the virtual class,
Yeah,
if you remember, what did I say? What wins this game? Singles and doubles. If you win,
absolutely.
right, singles and doubles win this game. It's about cash flow. You can hit those big home runs, which are great, but you got to start. Singles and doubles wins games, and that sounds like you're doing that.
Yeah, it took a while. Like I said, the first year was a not-for-profit agency. We we, uh, we took a lot to struggle to get through it, but
Yep.
once it started to roll, and it really, for me, started to take off at the beginning of this year, 2022. It
Okay.
seemed like all of a sudden I realized, hey, I not only got deals that I'm working on, I got deals in the pipeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a consistency for me of having those 2, 3, 4 deals. Right now, I'm working on probably 10 deals, 1 to 4 family investment properties for about 3 different investors. And I'm working on a very large deal for a $31 million project, the long-term
Okay. Yeah. A
project,
home run.
right?
Sure.
That is looking pretty good. That Mac has been helping me with your team,
Good.
and that's been the key. I've got the money coming in, the revenue stream coming in consistently. Hopefully, I can hit a double or triple.
That's important to know. I mean, when we look at success, I think it's fair to everybody has a different version of success in this business. And I've been doing this for, gosh, almost 13 years now, of putting people in the business like yourself. Sometimes it comes early. Sometimes it comes within the first couple of months of leaving. For most, I think, that first year some people see the success in the first year, but some people they're grappling with understanding the model, kind of, working out the kinks, if you will. And there's many grads who at the tail end of the first year, boom, they just start, they launching because they went through those kinks. It sounds like that was your experience, but I think the one word that comes to mind is perseverance. You persevered through some of the challenges that anybody would have, even with our support. A grad's still going to have some challenges to figure some things out, and looks like you broke that wall for sure.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I owe a lot of credit to your folks, John, Gary, Mac. They've been tremendous as far as support, and I've asked my share of dumb questions, and gotten some answers that I had to just go back and think about it and rethink of what I was thinking, and the way I was doing it, and sometimes getting slapped a little bit to go back and do it the right way.
Right.
And it was really helped. At the end of the day, there's nothing easy about this business. And if you do it right and you do it right the first time, it's going to take you a lot less time. Being a one-man band,
Hmm.
it was very important for me to figure out not have to keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
I hear you. I hear you.
And that's where the help has come from your team.
And it's fair to say that Mac is from Western New York, and I think he's a Buffalo Bills fan, so that also helps, right?
That did, yes.
So what's the number one thing you love about this business? Like, what do you love about this business that maybe didn't exist in other opportunities that you were involved with prior?
I'm not a young guy anymore, so the idea to be able to do this business for the next 20 years if I want to,
Yeah.
do it from a boat or from doing it from a condo or from doing it from my home here in the winter or wherever it is.
Mhm.
I love the idea of the flexibility of what's involved with running my brokerage.
Okay.
Secondly, I think that I like that I'm an entrepreneur and I have that ability to satisfy that entrepreneurial need that I have, where I'm my own boss and I can create my own hours, my own time, and my own rewards, and that's really been a big plus for me as well. So, I don't need somebody to motivate me. I'm motivated. I'm very interested in making money, but I'm also very motivated in helping people and making them successful. So, it's worked out well. Worked out very well. This last year has been really a dream come true for me.
Well, I'm very happy to see that and hear that. And I'm always trying to be fair and balanced here. With anything good, there also is some bad. What's the one thing you don't like about the business that just annoys the shit out of you?
Well, I think sometimes the paperwork, for me not being the most analytical person, I just want to be the good-looking front guy. That's always been my key.
Right,
And
right,
if somebody else, when I had my business, I had secretaries here, type this or do that, and
yeah,
all
yeah.
of a sudden there's just me, and I've got to go ahead and create the time management and the ability to get all those documents done. I'm looking forward to the time when I can come back, maybe working with CCTG and getting the other programs involved where I could have support staff to
Process,
help me.
processor, yeah.
I'd like to grow this business past myself. I'd like to get a couple of salespeople involved in helping me grow the business, either in other parts of Western New York or actually in different states that I have connections with that are watching me grow and are talking to me, and I can see there's an interest.
Yeah.
So bring some people on that way as well.
Well, yeah, and we could talk about that later, but you came from the banking world, right? I mean, so, you probably have some colleagues and bankers that are looking at you going, Jesus Christ, like he's closing deals. He's helping
Yeah,
people.
there were a couple of guys that tried to dissuade me from this. Oh, you'll never be successful. You'll never do this. And
Yeah.
these bankers are now referring to me.
Right.
It's been interesting to see because again, they turn down the loan, and if they go to a different bank and get accepted,
Right.
they're not only losing their relationship with that client for the loan, they're losing their whole business relationship because somebody else is taking over their banking relationship. So when I get a hold of them, I keep that banking relationship for that banker, build him up as somebody that's helped him as a value add, and then they keep that banking relationship for other things the customer needs.
Mm,
Plus, I do take care of my referrals, and that's helped as well. So it's been a good source.
okay. All right. Yeah. No, no. That's a important thing we teach in class about bankers, but it sounds like you've kind of perfected that. I ask you just a couple of questions. I like to ask questions so our audience gets to know who you are a little bit and myself. But, if you weren't, since you're doing this now and it seems like a long-term solution and career for you, but if you weren't doing this, what's one thing that you think you'd be doing, or a career you would, that you would do? Like, for instance, if you were to like jump into any career automatically without going through the time it took to do it, the training, and you could just hop into a career, what would it be?
Well, I come from a musical background. My father was a jazz pianist. I'm a drummer.
Ah,
I stopped playing for almost 30 years and just started getting back into it. And music coming back into my life the way it is, actually playing out and performing again, has
really?
been a real neat thing. So if I had one thing I could do professionally, would be just to be able to be a musician and play and travel and do that. That's something I always wanted to do all my life. Uh, so,
Wow. Okay. So
so
you play drums.
I do. Yes,
What
yes.
type of what type of music?
Mostly classic rock, blues, but again, my dad being a jazz pianist, I got a heavy jazz influence in me. So I grew up with
Thing.
the most incredible musicians coming to my home and playing.
Wow, that's all. I played a jazz piano. That's
Really?
I learned at a very young age by ear, and then I got formal training by a jazz pianist. So I know that. Actually, my instrument of choice is the Hammond B3 organ.
That's a sweet sound.
A Hammond B3 organ. It is. It is. You're the bass. You're kind of everything. You're the bass. If you're playing a trio of that. But that's an interesting connection. I didn't know that about you. So I got to ask the question: who's the greatest drummer in all time history in your mind?
Oh wow! You can go to John Bonham. You can go from what's his name from the Who. You could do. Have you ever heard of Tower of Power? There's a
Oh yeah,
guy.
I've heard of Tower of Power. Yeah.
David Garibaldi, who's always been my favorite. He's the reason I put my sticks down, because you just can't simply play the stuff that he plays, and you wonder
Right.
how is he possibly doing that with just two hands.
Right.
But that's he's been a big influence on me. And yeah, again, it's given. There's only two things that have ever really been satisfying to me in life. It's been closing deals and
Mhm.
having somebody appreciate when you're playing live music.
Yeah, live. There's nothing like live music. I respect anybody that plays live music. So you actually play out, like you actually
Yeah,
go out to bars or taverns or whatever, and
yeah.
you play out. That's awesome. I tried to do that. I'm so busy and wrapped up with my companies, but even I've tried to do that, and you get a couple of guys together, and I've been successful in getting guys together. But the problem is you practice and I don't even do it for the money, obviously, right? I just want to play. And I actually went to bars and said, look, funny story. I'll tell you real quick. I got a couple guys together, in back of a gymnasium here locally. We started playing, right? I was keyboard, organ, and I had a drummer, I had a sax player, I had a guitar player, all jazz and blues. And we started practicing, and we had got through like two practices. And I even went so far to, because they're like, man, I'm doing this for money. And me, I'm like, I'm fortunate enough I don't have to do it for the money. So I actually went to a couple of bars and I said, look, can we play? We won't do it for any money. But I said, don't mention it to them that we're not doing it for money. So what I did is I took my own money, and I was ready to pay them. Be like, hey, here's how much they paid us, but it was coming from me. But I just wanted a chance to get in the goddamn bar and play. Does that make sense?
Oh,
And after we got to a third practice and we're almost going to do it. And next thing guys got kids, guys got wives, guys got jobs. And like one person couldn't make it, and then another person, and just all fell to shit. And so I never have been able to congregate a bunch of people, like-minded individuals, and go and play somewhere. It takes effort. So,
yeah, it's not easy. And again, it's repetition. It's getting with the right people, because you're right. if I go out and whatever I'm making, I'm spending twice that at the bar on people that are coming to see me. So,
Right,
it's
right.
never a question of making money.
Yeah.
But when you can get the right guys together and you can laugh and have
Of course.
fun and it feels good, the groove is good, and you're doing well. So look, you're not that far. Come down and play, man. We'll have you down here. We've got a full band together. We could use a keyboardist. So.
All right. Well, you know what? Yeah, you are not that far. I may take you up on that for sure. Let me know where you're gigging one night.
Yeah, we're right there. We're right there doing a couple of jobs now, and we're looking this fall. We're going to start getting a little busy.
Okay.
But
Cool.
for me, if I could do 2 to 4 jobs a month, get out there, play 2 to 4 times a month, I'd be really happy.
You're happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's great way to do it. And I love live music. I see as many live concerts as I can.
Yeah.
That's it's a big part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, me too. I try to do more of it and more of it. So that's an interesting thing. What's one thing in your life that people don't really know about you just by meeting you for the first time?
Well, I got married at a very young age, 18. I had 2 kids by 20.
Wow.
So yeah, I had hair back then. I lost it after I had my kids, of course, but I'm very proud of my children. My daughter is married very well and has 2 kids, and my son has 3 kids, and he is a project manager for a aerospace company. So I'm very proud of my kids, and my ex-wife, I put her through school. She's a psychotherapist, which is why she's my ex, because she couldn't fix me.
That's what I was going to say. I was just going to say she had a lot of practice to do with
She
you.
had a lot of practice, yeah. So, but we're actually very close, so it's not a problem. And I wouldn't trade my life for the world. As hard as it was to be 18 and get married and get a job, I started selling cars at 18 years old.
Nice.
That's how I made money, and it's been in sales all my life doing that. And it was between sales and music. I put my ex through school. I've played 5 nights a week and worked 6 days a week, and did that for a number of years, the hungry years.
And you know what? I'm just realizing right now, just getting to know you a little bit, it all makes sense, right? We talked about in the beginning of this interview that it took you about a year to go through some trials and tribulations, but you know what? Knowing that about you now, you got this because you're used to adversity, right? I mean, you dealt with some adversity at a young age, you persevered through it, right? And so I'm not worried about you. I mean, you figured it out. It's not your first rodeo of perseverance, which you took life events and developed that attitude, and then you took this and you had some adversity in the beginning, but you plowed right through it.
So you like this? I just went to see a Canadian band, Blue Rodeo. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No.
And I bought a T-shirt that said, "This ain't my first rodeo."
It's not your first rodeo.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, awesome. That's I love learning that about you. Here's another one. If you were to sit down with any person, either that's been passed on or currently alive at any point, at any time in human history, who would it be?
Well, it's funny because we're talking about music, and the first thing that came to mind was Paul McCartney. I just recently had watched a few months ago the new Get Back documentary they did on the series with the rooftop concert and their last album, and listening to them put that together, the musical genius involved with those guys creating their songs and how they went about it, and it just floored me. It's even though you think you know the stuff until you see something like that and you watch the hours that I'm sitting there and how they put things together, it was very amazing. So I think sitting with Paul McCartney to hear the experiences, because how many people in this world have lived a life like the Beatles did from 20 to 30, and then to be able to continue on from there.
Maybe Frank Sinatra.
Well, Frank Sinatra, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's another rare bird, but yeah.
So that would probably be one guy that I would love to, at this stage of my life, to sit down with and listen to his stories. And it's one of the things I love about talking to other musicians, because you get guys that have been on the road, they come off the road and they tell you these stories, and they're all amazing. And it's just a wonderful life. And having watched my father do that, and I'd experienced his people coming off the road, and used to have these gentlemen come down. They were from the Colored Musicians Union, and come and stay at my house, and they'd be playing in the afternoon jazz, and come on and sit down and play. And I'm 15 years old wanting to listen to Led Zeppelin, and I'm playing, Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, but you know what though? I'm going to tell you something. Being a jazz enthusiast at heart, I'm going to tell you something. All the rock bands stole all those, a lot of that. There's so much influence of blues, especially Led Zeppelin, right? It's all blues. They're all remakes of blues and blues beats and blues, all that stuff. But there's an old, who the hell said it? It was they made a reference. They kind of took a dig at rock music. They said, look, I forget who it was, but you got to look up the quote. And I know I've heard it. It said, well, you can't make it in jazz. You could always be a rock drummer, right? like in other words, it's like jazz is like one of the highest forms of technical talent. And I would even say more than classical. And I'll tell you why, because classical, particularly these days, right? Like you play it, you read music. Jazz, you need to have that improv skill, right? Because jazz, there's a framework. That's what I love about jazz is freedom, right? There's a framework that you play in, whether it be the key, whether it be the changes, right? But outside of that framework, you can go off and take some turns and come around and do some more turns. But then eventually you come back on home to that original framework. That's what I love about jazz that you don't have in classical music.
Well, it's interesting. I just went into an old box to find something the other day and came out with 4 CDs of my father playing in the 80s at a little club here in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. All free-form jazz stuff. And, what's cool about what you asked me earlier, what do you like about doing what you're doing? The fact that you and I could have this conversation, we're going to go back to making money doing the financing thing. Right. You couldn't ask for a better way to make a living. It's just.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And that's the beauty that this model provides. All right. So now we come to that point in the conversation where you could ask me anything.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be about business. It could be about why I like the Dolphins and I think they're better than the Bills. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, but go ahead. It's free territory.
Well, you know what? Being a Buffalo Bills fan, you have to be humble because you never know. Look at what's happened to us over the years. I mean, you can't have many bad breaks as the Bills had. But my dad actually played in the Buffalo Bills band in the 60s.
Oh, no shit.
So as a young boy, I used to carry his electric piano into the old Rockpile Stadium here in Buffalo, where O.J. Simpson was playing, and all those stars in the early 70s. And I would carry his piano in, and as they pipe in music between songs now, they had a full orchestra that would play for 10 seconds of a song.
Okay. So
that's how far back I go with the Buffalo Bills, right? So,
okay.
But as far as questions are concerned for you, I think that, this being relatively new, there's always a lot of doubt and concern about what's happening. And I think our economy and where we are as a country has really concerned me greatly as to what is in store for us. And I was wondering if you could share your thoughts on what is happening in the economy and how it's going to affect the CCT grads, brokers, over the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Fair question. Good question. So let me answer it. I'm going to answer it from a high level perspective, and then I'll get pretty hyper focused. So the bigger answer to that is that's the beauty of our model in that it allows you to navigate where opportunity is, right? You just didn't come here to learn equipment leasing, or you didn't come here to learn real estate financing, right? You learned a model which affords you to be an opportunist depending on what's going on in the economy. So here's the thing. Rates go up, right? War breaks out in Russia. Rates go up. Guess what? People still need money, right? It may be more expensive. There may be a higher cost to it, but the bottom line is things are just not going to shut down. Now, COVID is an anomaly. COVID was an anomaly, right? But I'm talking about the effects of an economy. Now, there are certain products that are affected. And I think I'm qualified to say this because I went through a lot of downturns, right? I mean, at least in my career, you look at 9/11, the year after 9/11, it was funky, especially 2008, which we're not at 2008 levels, right? 2008, which was much worse, and climbing out of 2008. And then you have COVID. And I can tell you this, that that was the whole impetus, the whole reason behind why I created the model the way it is today and why you learn so many products, because in downturns, there are certain products that are affected for sure. But then there are a bunch of products that create opportunities because they explode in a good way, right? They absolutely, like for instance, the whole merchant cash advance arena, that really was given birth because of 2008, right? Was the concept of a merchant cash advance around before '08? Yes, but in a very small format, right? Because money was cheap, right? Money was cheap. But when 2008 happened, the alternative business finance community blew up in a good way, expanded tremendously because you couldn't get capital from the bank. Banks just literally shut down. So alternative lenders rose up to kind of fulfill the need in those years, right? And now it's a huge industry. So my point in telling you is if you were, if you were just a mortgage broker in 2008, right, you were shit out of luck
Yeah.
because you didn't have any of the products. But that's why the model is what it is, because there are opportunities that go away, but at the same time, you are flush with opportunities that are brought to you because of the depth of the model that you operate, right? You're not a one-dimensional firm. So as I said before, rates go up. Okay, yeah, rates are going up. Do I think rates will go up a little more? Sure, I do. Do I think that we're gonna, we're in and we're kind of gonna be in a somewhat of a depression or a recession? Yes. Do I think it's gonna be really bad and people are gonna be out in the streets? No, I don't think that. And again, this is just my opinion. I don't think that. But at the end of the day, even though we're going through what some would consider a semi-recession, um, people still need money. People are still going out to eat. They're still going to buy product, right? They're still going to do that. And so therefore the economy is still going to be churning. Certain segments may be affected. Having said all that, and that's the beautiful thing you're in, right? That's why you're in what you're in. People always need money. But in terms of opportunities that I see in the next 12 months or 18 months, I think, right now, I think arguably, real estate is going to take form, particularly in the multifamily arena, because if rates keep going, and again, it depends on what's happening in the next 12 months, but if rates keep climbing up, I mean, already right now, there's a certain portion of our population that's priced out of homes because that extra interest rate, that 1 point or even a point and a half in rate that, goes up, that can price a lot of people out, that are looking for a home, whether it be lower middle class, or middle class for that matter, but it prices people out of a mortgage, and therefore they still need to live, right? So they're still going to need apartment. They have to go to an apartment or some type of apartment complex. So I think you're going to see even the one family rental, 2, 3, 4 family residential rentals, and even multifamily complexes, apartment buildings. That's going to be a good asset class. It always has been, right? It always has been. People need a place to live. Also, I'm in the business of merchant cash advances, right? I mean, one of our divisions at Prime, we do that. We're one of your lenders for that. And, we've seen volume really uh, uh, tick up, a lot of volume tick up from businesses you know, that need capital to buy product. Product has become more expensive for sure. Particularly if you look at like restaurants, costs of goods have risen, but and they've tried to adjust those prices, but they still need capital to purchase and, do things. So, I think those are two areas right now that we're seeing an uptick. And I think that's where there's going to be some opportunity.
Oh, thank you. I tend to agree with you. I think that I'm very happy that I chose the investment real estate side as one of the main focuses for myself. But again, if I go to a number two product, it is going to be merchant cash advance. And I haven't been able to really focus on that this year. That was one of my main goals so far this year, was to get more involved with merchant cash advances. And I want to work with Gary a little bit more and really get that turned on, because I do believe that's a consistent income flow. And,
It's quick. It's not, the cycle is not as long as a real estate loan, right? Cycle is not as long and it's less paperwork. I mean, you're talking about 3 months bank statements and an application. For the most part, for deals, sometimes you got to get in tax returns if it's a large MCA, like $1 million MCA. But yeah, it's certainly a paying the bills product, and Gary's the man to do it with. Gary's been around that industry a long time. It's a pleasure for Gary to have him on my team and assist you guys with that. What else? What else do you have for me?
well, I think the next step for me is any advice you could give me on how to expand my business from being a one man band to bringing employees on, both in sales and in administration. How have you seen the best course or best road for success for that?
Yeah, I mean, so if you remember back, back into the training, you remember we did that whole section on independent contractors. We did that
Right.
whole section on how to grow your business, right? I think you need to start thinking about that now. Whether you can sit through another class or whether or you know what, and I mean, I know we're on this podcast, but I'll just tell you, because we're on the topic. Next class we have we'll allow you to log in on Friday morning, 8 to 10 is when I do that lecture, right? Just log in and listen to it again, right?
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Just get with Christina, email Christina, and she'll set you up with that login for that Friday. But just to kind of rehash, I think you're at a great point right now to do that, because I always say, wait about 12 months before you start doing that. So you can talk the talk. You got obviously now you have a lot of deals underneath your belt. You can talk intelligently. You know what you're talking about. You're not just talking, you've lived it. So now I think you're at a great point to start doing that, to start bringing on some people. And I'm not going to get into on the podcast how and why. I mean,
right.
But if you remember back to my presentation, and again, I invite you to, when next class here in 2 weeks to listen in. But you should start doing that now, because you're at that point, right? You're not new. You got deals underneath your belt. And I think that is one of the quickest, easiest ways to get into a market and expand your deal flow, is to bring people onto your onto your business. And you could find some good qualified people. And it sounds like you may already have good qualified people that are watching you from the outside, and they're looking in at you and they're seeing the success you're having. There's no better testimonial than that.
No, I agree. And it's been really rewarding seeing the people that have called me and say, "Hey, how's it going? What's going on?" And being able to say, "I'm glad you asked." It's been going well. I'm actually too busy right now. I never thought I'd say that.
Right. Yeah. That's what I mean. So I think you're at a great point. You're at that tipping point where you could definitely start doing that.
It's been a great ride so far. It really has, and I'm enjoying it. And look forward to a lot more success. And this year, joining you guys for the conference, and
yeah, we have fun.
Got a chance to meet you guys in person over there. It's just always this is great to see you again. But I mean, it'd be nice to be able to actually shake hands with people.
For sure. I'm always a face-to-face guy. One last question, I think, of course, if you want to ask me more stuff, by all means, but one last question I have for you is, what would you tell, I always like to, at the conclusion, ask you, what would you tell, and I'm going to frame the question this way, because, we there are some grads that do struggle like you did. And what bit of advice would you tell? Because I don't know if you know, but a lot of grads listen to this too. This is not just for people that are looking in our program, but a lot of grads listen to, and they get motivation from people like yourself. But what would you tell a grad that maybe is in this a couple of months and they're going to go through some struggles? What would be your words of advice to them?
Well, I would certainly say that a couple of months is not nearly going to give you the background and the information you need to make this a life choice. And this truly is a life choice. If you make a commitment to this, you've got to look at this as a long-term commitment.
Right.
And I've done that. I can tell you, I was exactly where you were talking about. There were months in the beginning where I said, "Oh my God, what have I done?" I'm bringing no money in.
Yep.
And I would listen to some of these podcasts and listen to some of these people that were successful. And I said, if them, why not me? And then that was the whole idea. But it does take that perseverance. It does take the success. It takes being organized with a plan of action. It takes being out there, letting people know what you do. And it's getting back to being easier now to do networking and prospecting and referral-based meetings than it was ever. During COVID, you just couldn't meet people. They didn't want to see you with a mask on. You couldn't go walking into their doors or shake hands with them. And again, like you said, being a people person, being able to do that was very important. But I would just say that you just keep working, man. You just keep making the calls. You keep talking to people. You let people know what you're doing. You let them know what's happening. You become a product industry expert as best you can, so that they look at you as a go-to person when they have questions. And the next thing you'll know, you'll start getting the referrals from these people.
Yeah, you start closing deals. Well, good. I think you couldn't have said it better. There's no better example than yourself in terms of, saying that statement, because you were there at one point, like you said. You were there in a couple months saying, "What the hell did I get myself into?" I think that's what you said, and then you looked at some podcasts, you saw the people that are finding success, and maybe that gave you some inspiration.
Oh, it definitely did. Definitely did.
For sure. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps it up. Listen, I really want to thank you for your time. I know you're a one man shop and you're busy and you got a lot of stuff going down. And as much as I do, and I teach this, time is everything in this business. So I appreciate you donating your time to at least talk to us and shoot the breeze here a little bit about what you're doing and how things are going.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And again, I appreciate your team and all they've done for me. So thank you very much. And we'll look to see each other soon.
All right. Well, thank you. And that does it. That wraps it up for this episode of Entrepreneurs in Finance. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube link so you can catch all the videos that come out immediately. We also have an app on Android and iPhone that you can download, and you can actually get content much quicker than just the YouTube. But you should do both. And in any event, look for more videos coming out. We have new videos that come out every month, and hopefully we'll provide insight. So with that being said, have a great day. Thank you again for the interview, and we will catch everybody on the next one. Thank you. There are just too many commercial loan brokers that don't have a damn clue of what they're doing. All we're trying to do here is better the industry for everybody. At the end of the day, you can make great money in this industry, but in the end, it's all about helping people. People always say, Kris, how can I be a successful broker? It's two words: hard work and dedication. If you don't like talking to people, you probably shouldn't be in this business.